All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Excuse me, the mayor is on her way. She'll be here shortly. The first order of business is any declarations of pecuniary interest, and if so, the general nature thereof, for anything on the agenda this morning. Seeing none. Before we go immediately to the deputation, I just want to bring to your attention some information that was dropped on your desk this morning. There is the changes to the agenda, Police Services Board, and attached to that are the minutes from the OPP bylaw enforcement group. And coming out of that, a couple of things that we'll talk about under other business or minutes, business arising. Another piece that was dropped on your desk this morning is a follow-up from the community policing chairs meeting of last week, and it's a listing of all the things that the police force, the Norfolk County OPP, are engaged with or in, and this is an important list to overlay what the community policing groups do, and it will highlight specifically the tremendous amount of interaction there is with the community, from the OPP, and will inform the decisions and discussion and decisions as we go forward about what will community policing look like in the future here in Norfolk County. And I'll just take a page out of John Fashing's comments from that meeting, that we're probably Norfolk County the most active community policing group anywhere, even with our diminished capacity at the present time due to the lack of volunteers. And then another one that was dropped on your desk is the Norfolk County bylaw dealing with alarms, particularly burglar alarms, and how to deal with false alarms. This is for information at this point. I will be coming to you in a subsequent meeting with a presentation on burglar alarms and particularly false alarms. We know that 97% of burglar alarms are false alarms, and if you're interested at all, you might want to just Google the Toronto Police Service policy on alarms and their response, and then you'll get a good idea as to where I'm going to lead you for discussion purposes. So having said all of that, we do have someone here this morning. Is that Mr. Thompson? You want to come forward, please, and when you turn that microphone on, give us your name so that we can, for the record, know exactly who you are, sir.
Yeah, Bruce Thompson. I live in Villanova. I wanted to present this to everybody. After calling police about speeders in Villanova for years, it seems to be, and everything fell on deaf ears, so we decided to get a signed petition for speeders in Villanova. I presented it to the OPPs on September 25th, 2018, where I spoke to Officer Clark and we discussed the time of day and night and the direction, which was going faster. He put out a survey car and found the same things, same results as what I had informed him of. Officers started showing up and we were surprisingly busy. One officer stopped 3 cars in 45 minutes. Then the police cars were gone. Other people in the village called many times, as I did, about why the police disappeared. I called Officer Clark and he stated that they can't be there all the time and advised me to call my council member, who is Kim Huffman, but she never returned any of my calls. I called the police again and they said they were putting up electronic speed signs, which they did, east and westbound, but only worked half the time. People were bragging in the coffee shops who could get the number on the signs up fast enough or up high enough, because they were bragging because they knew no police were involved or no police were in the village. Others were bragging about getting pulled over in Villanova by police officers and knocking the 10 to 15 kilometers off the ticket so they wouldn't lose any points. I know it's the officer's discretion, but how are you going to set an example? I talked to Officer Clark about the reputation of Renton, about the reputation that Renton has. 5 kilometers over the speed limit, you get a ticket. Even people in Burlington, St. George, and Brantford know the reputation of Renton. Is that because the police officers and the members of the staff live there? Why should they get special treatment? And he had no comment to say. We have the odd case of people passing 2 cars in a school bus, people passing in the village on double lines and almost hitting someone head on, coming out of their own driveway. Myself and other residents have called trucking companies and had their truck and trailer number, but all in vain because they were told they have no trucks in the area. But I also know from my past experience that they have electronic logs, and the safety men denied the trucks even being there. Women are walking their babies with strollers. The blankets are blown right off the baby's carriage. And people are going down to the neighbors to get their garbage containers. Garbage from recycling bins are left on the side of the road. So since we are all paying taxes, and a percentage of our taxes go to policing, which we are not getting like Renton is, our next step for us is to ask for a claim to maybe get some of our money back from taxes. Villanova would like and demands some reputation, the same reputation as Renton has got. And this letter was dropped off to me in my at the house there. Somebody must be on the list there. But he wrote to me, he said, Bruce, could you please read this letter to the OPPs on Wednesday morning? My wife and I cannot go for a walk on Thompson Road in fear of getting hit or being dusted out because of the speed of traffic. We try to go for a walk on Villanova Road the other day, and cars were smoking their tires on the pavement down by the bridges. 2 weeks ago, we walked down to Concession 10, just south of Villanova, and went west about 1,000 feet, and another car stopped in front of us and smoked his tires and left 50 feet worth of black marks on the pavement. There's all kinds of beer cans, beer bottles on the side of the road. So the way I see it, the police cannot control the speed limit in the hamlet like in Renton. They cannot control squealing the tires and carelessness, and they surely have not controlled drinking and driving. So what are they doing? I'm sick and tired of paying taxes for police services and not getting anywhere. Since we have signed that petition for speeders and nothing is being done, when an accident happens, it's all going to be on the OPP. Thank you.
I'm sure you said it. What is the posted speed limit in Villanova?
60 kilometers.
60 kilometers. Thank you.
Through your chair to Inspector Varga, has there been a speed spy posted in Villanova?
Yes, actually, in regards to Villanova, and when Mr. Thompson, first of all, thank you for coming today, Bruce. I appreciate that. When he approached us in September, we did a speed spy study, and it did indicate that there definitely was an issue with speeding on westbound traffic. The 50th percentile was 68, the 85th percentile was 79 kilometers. 2,729 cars were observed, 2,158 were above the speed limit. So with that information, we did do a focus patrol there, did lay charges, and then that was in October. November, another complaint came in after the focus patrol, and we subsequently did another focus patrol there. In February, laid charges, and twice we've deployed our lone speed watch sign to that location for awareness. And now that the county is purchasing the speed watch signs, the post-mounted ones, I will be taking it to the Collision Reduction Committee for consideration to have them put up there permanently for a short time.
To Inspector Varga, what we heard from the deputation was that when they do put these signs up there, that people actually speed up to see how high a speed they can get. Is that, do you find that being a common issue when you put those speed watch signs up?
No studies have shown that people will decrease their speed. I can't comment on anything that's said in a coffee shop around a table, but studies do show that they do work.
So, and further, and welcome to Her Worship, Mayor Chop, and further to, and I know you're all tired because you had a late night. Further to the Speed Watch program, Mike, you were the champion at council. Can you give us an indication what council has decided and what might be taking place?
Well, yes, we are. The council decided, it was referred back from budget discussions back to the Police Services Board. Police Services Board brought it back to council, and at this time, council has ordered and proceeded to order a mobile sign plus six of the indicator signs to be posted across the hamlets in different areas of the county. So I think it's a $63,000 expense or something like that. So that will be happening too.
So
Your situation in Villanova is no different than many other hamlets that we have. Thank you.
So for Mr. Thompson's benefit, there was a speed watch program that was initiated. There is indications certainly that speeding does take place westbound, if not eastbound. The county is purchasing speed watch signs and focus patrols inspector. Is there any potential for further patrols in that area?
Yeah, we've done 2 focus patrols there, and we can do more. We've kind of spread the focus patrols out amongst the county, so we'll get back there. And the officers do patrol it on a regular basis when they're out there. But
Okay.
Again, they can't be in one area all the time.
Anything further from the board?
First question to Berga. Reducing the speed limit to say 50 or putting a stop sign in at the intersection, would that assist this issue?
I suspect that would be a county decision doing a warrants.
Right. But I'm just thinking about, we had this issue in Linville, Hamlet of Linville, and we put a 4-way stop there.
Again, I'm not a traffic engineer, and putting a 4-way stop there would be something that the county would have to do, but I would imagine that they'd have to have an engineering study to see how it would affect traffic flow and whatnot.
So as council representative, would you take that forward to Public Works and Environmental Services, or whatever they're called
Yes, I
today?
can report that back to Public Works and see what they have to say about, to remedy the speed issue there.
Okay.
See what they have to say. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So for your takeaway, Mr. Thompson, thank you for your presentation once again. You've heard that there will be speed watch equipment at some point in the very near future when when county gets around to purchasing them. I think they will do that on a priority basis. The inspector has said there will be a continuation of focus patrols across the county and certainly in Villanova. I can say to you, you won't get a village policeman or a policewoman. That just isn't in the books, to have somebody dedicated to every village and hamlet, or previous village and hamlet in Norfolk County, which there are 42 of them. But certainly your thoughts and the expressions of the citizens of Villanova have been heard.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We need a motion to accept that deputation as information. Thank you. David, Carol? That takes us to the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. If there are no errors, corrections, or omissions, we'll accept them as adopted. Thank you. Green trees? David? Thank you very much. Business arising from the minutes. Nothing on the agenda is posted, but I do want to bring forward a couple of things that were brought to my attention. And one is, when I gave the presentation to council about what a police services board is, what it does, one of the things that we left with council was to get back to us, hopefully by the time they break, July the 8th, I believe, with priorities, the council's priorities for policing. So we'd like to get that back to us as soon as possible. The OPP is, in my conversation with the inspector, they're doing their strategic plan globally, and that'll trickle down at some point. So once we get county's priorities, we can get the OPP priorities, and then we can merge those two and come up with some happy medium for Norfolk County, to Norfolk County's benefit. And so I just raised that point. We did have a meeting of community policing chairs, and again, I say to you that those minutes were sent out in soft format to you, and what you have on your desk today is that overlay of what the police are doing relative to community involvement and relations. Speed watch we've talked about, and the bylaw on false alarms, which will come back at some future time. Correspondence, we have the minutes from the Port Dover Community Policing Committee dated May the 27th. Any comment on those from the board? From the OPP? Accept the motion to have them receive this information. Councillor Columbus? Member Greentrees? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Then we get to the monthly report from the OPP. Inspector, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The report for the month of May 2019. We'll start off with page 16, the overtime. Overtime allotment per the contract, $387,628. Dollars spent to date estimate, $120,469.31, which is 32.08% of the allotment, and we're a couple of percentages down from where we were in 2018 at this time. Auxiliary policing hours for the month of May, 453. Tributes, we received 3 thank you notes for Constable Ed Sandchuk for his work on the Citizens Police Academy, presentation of the South Coast Probus, and time dedicated to the Seroptimists of Haldeman, Norfolk. Correspondence, Crime Stoppers report on page 18. Summary of activities for May 2019. There have been 255 anonymous tips received this year. Since inception, 2,122 arrests and 6,260 charges laid. Student Crime Stoppers, bursary applications have been received from schools in Norfolk and Haldeman counties. Alicia Fogg of Hagersville Secondary School was the recipient, and they continue to support the high school Crime Stoppers programs in both counties. Promotions, presentations, meetings, participated, presented to, gave promotional items to. They had a murder mystery dinner and silent auction, golf committee, wellness fair at Elgin Avenue Public School, and the Delhi Bike Rodeo. Media relations, they conducted their usual media relations throughout the month with their usual media partners. Fundraising, the murder mystery dinner and silent auction was on May 2nd at the Jarvis Community Center. It was a great success. $6,000 was raised for Crime Stoppers. Shredding event occurred on May the 11th from 9 till noon here in Simcoe. It raised over $1,400. Shredding event was held June 8th in Caledonia. Don't have results of that till next month. And of course, their golf tournament will be on August 15th at the Pine Valley Golf Course. Internationally and nationally, national initiatives will be carried out throughout the months with local Crime Stoppers programs participating to inform the public of issues of human trafficking, counterfeit goods, and contraband tobacco, all of which fund organized crime and terrorist organizations. The Ontario Association of Crime Stoppers Training Conference was hosted by Windsor and Essex County Crime Stoppers May 30th to June 2nd and was attended by Neil Unwin and Amy Bernardo. 102 delegates from across Ontario met for education and information sharing. Holloman and Norfolk Crime Stoppers won Best Print Feature, Simcoe Reformer. Best Radio Feature, 92.9 The Grand. Best Video Feature, CHCH News. Best Student Engagement, Higgersville Secondary School. And Civilian Achievement Award went to Bev Hickey. So that's quite a few accomplishments for our Crime Stoppers program.
Absolutely, kudos to all. When I see Neil, I'll certainly pass that along.
As always, the board is actively seeking new board members, and Neil Unwin continues to serve as chair. Page 19, locally dedicated hours overtime for the month of May. There were 669.75 hours municipally and 231 hours provincially. And if we skip over to page 25, the graphs.
Before you go on, Inspector, just to be clear, the 669.75 hours municipally are billed to the municipality,
Correct.
and the 231 are billed to the province.
Correct.
Thank you.
So the analytical report for the month of May 2019, all violent crime. During the reported month, 39 events were investigated. Assaults, during the reported month, 24 events were investigated. Domestic disturbances on page 27. During the reported month, 48 events were investigated. This was slightly higher than the 5-year trend projection, which was 45 events. All property crime, during the reported month, 125 events were investigated. Break and enters, we had 15 events investigated during the month of May. Frauds, during the reported month, 20 events were investigated. Mischiefs on page 31. During the reported month, 27 events were investigated. Theft of motor vehicles, there were 9 events investigated. Theft of motor vehicles, we had 12 events investigated. Theft under 5,000, which is page 34. During the reported month, there were 49 events investigated. Drugs, page 35. During the reported month, 3 events were investigated. During the month of May, the Community Street Crime Unit was involved in 23 occurrences. There were 11 warrants executed. No persons were charged. There were 6 drug seizures valued at $3,147 and 3 property seizures, cash, household articles, tools, electronics, valued at $135,500 recovered. This consisted mainly of $135,000 worth of stolen pallets that are used in the agricultural industry being recovered. And there was 1 cash seizure, but no vehicle seizures for the month. 911 calls, which is on page 37. During the reported month, there were 306 events investigated. The number of 911 calls was well above what was projected, and as always, they continue to report above the projected estimates each month. We're into the busy agricultural time of the year. We have very many more workers within the county. Each one has a cell phone, and for whatever reason, they pocket dial. Alarms, page 38. During the reported month, there were 43 events investigated. And Mental Health Act calls during the reported month, 29 events were investigated. Members dedicated 229 and 3/4 hours to their investigations, and the average year-to-date time spent per mental health call for service is 7 hours. Back to page
Just, if I might, a comment on the alarms once again. 97% of burglar alarms are false alarms. That's a statistic that holds true all across Canada and has for a long time. So just to reiterate, I will be coming forward to the board with a presentation on alarm responses, and again, prompt you to look at the Toronto policy that they're currently using.
Inspector, 7 hours for a mental health call. Can you define what happens over a 7-hour period for a mental health call?
Well, we received the initial call, there's a response, and we try to make sure that that response is with our MCERT worker, our mental health worker that's embedded within our platoons. Then, of course, there's an investigation that occurs. Depending on the circumstances, that person may be taken to a medical facility, at which time it could vary anywhere from 5 minutes to several hours, if not more, before they're seen by a doctor. So we have to stay there with them. And then once there's conclusion to that, there is follow-up that is done often, as well as all the report writing that has to go into it. So from start to finish, the average is 7 hours.
Thank you for that.
And following up on that stream of questioning and your response, what's the correct name? The harm reduction, harm prevention group?
Well, there's the situation table,
Yeah.
which high-risk situations are referred to, and there's a harm reduction committee. There's several committees.
Okay, and explain to me the organizational structure for that. Is it under Health and Social Services? How does it come to this table other than through your reporting?
The situation table is made up of, I forget how many number of agencies off the top of my head. Is there 17? Yeah, I was going to say 20. 17 partners that come to the table, and the situation is brought forth by, could be any agency. All the agencies listen to the situation and then determine if their agency can assist. And then a plan of action is determined.
Okay, and I'm more specifically looking to linkages to the adjudicating body, council, and from an information perspective, or how we drive the priorities, both from council and from the OPP, how that all meshes. I'm just...
Well, the situation table is kind of sits on its own. It's its own little entity, and they report amongst within themselves.
Okay.
They don't have funding. They don't report back to council or anything like that.
Okay.
There's a lot of privacy information
Yep.
that goes in like that.
Okay. Thank you. Carol?
Just a further question to that. Isn't it part of the community safety plan?
We currently don't have an actual community safety plan in the county.
Sorry.
But it's all part of the detachment business strategic plan.
You're on the same track I am, because the Norfolk County will have to have in place a community safety and wellness plan by January 2021.
And all the partners that sit at the situation table should be consulted as part of that development of the plan.
I think it's just a matter of Norfolk County as well as the Norfolk detachment being ahead of the, the plan really in getting on top of it, isn't it?
Yeah, the situation table was implemented well ahead of most places.
Mr. Mayor, I've been to a situation table. It's very confidential, of course. I would suggest that you attend one, and you'll just see how efficient and worthwhile they are. Also, going back to the 7 hours for mental health calls, often depends on the call and the situation of the mental health person. Often it requires 2 officers because there's, a little bit of disruption, and you can't just handle a person with 1 officer.
Thank you very much. And more and more, we're seeing police resources being used, what I'll say is basically slightly outside their comfort zone when you get to the mental health issues and those types of things. And speaking to EMS, to Sarah, she indicated that when they have a call for a potential overdose or suspected overdose, they will call the OPP from a protection perspective and support perspective as well. So more and more we're seeing police resources being used on that side of the equation, if I can use that analogy. And so all the more reason for us to be looking for efficiencies, such as getting them out of bylaw responses and responding to false alarms, and so that those resources can be best used to the greatest needs of the community.
And on as a plus, the situation table and our embedded MCERT workers have diverted a lot of calls for service, repeat calls for service, because they do get them into a program with the proper agencies.
Yeah, you can triage it at an early stage.
Yep.
Yeah. John, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think an important element of our detachments, our community mobilization officer who works daily on these cases. He really works ahead of it in terms of identifying trends and being the go-to person for folks that repeatedly need treatment. And that's really helped take a lot of weight off the front line guys responding to calls. It's been immensely successful, and his interaction with the situation table has been extremely successful as well.
So to pick up on what Carol has indicated, or sorry, David has indicated, if you'd let me know when the situation table does meet, if I'm welcome, I will attend.
Yeah, I do know that they're now on, I'm going to call it a bit of a hiatus until September, unless an agency brings an emergent situation forward, then they'll call an emergency meeting. But we'll be looking at September for their next regular meeting.
Thank you. Anything further from the board? Sorry to interrupt your presentation.
Back page 36 for traffic-related statistics. All collision types for April, I should say May, reported at 67 events. All collision types did see a decrease of 11 from May last year, and a year-to-date decrease of 16.8% was observed from the same time frame last year. Property damage collisions for May reported at 52 events. They did see a decrease of 9 from May last year, and a year-to-date decrease of 18% was observed from the same time frame last year. Non-fatal injury collisions for May reported at 15 events. Non-fatal injury collisions did see an increase of 3, or 25% from May last year. However, a year-to-date decrease of 18% overall was observed from the same time frame last year. Non-fatal collisions totaled 15 for May, as I said. In reviewing the collisions, they ranked as follows. Lost control, 4. Inattentive driver, 4. Disobeyed traffic control, 2. Failed to yield right of way, 1. Follow too closely, 1. Improper turn, 1. Speed too fast for conditions, 1. And 1 was under the other categories. Fatal collisions for May reported at 0 events, and a year-to-date decrease of 100% was observed from the same time frame last year. So we've had no fatals yet this year. Impaired driving, during the reported month, 10 events were investigated. Foot patrol hours, which were on page 41, During the month of May, 462 and 3/4 hours of foot patrol was conducted throughout the county. School visits for the month of May were 31 school visits, with one violent school incident being investigated. For the month of April, there were 462 criminal code and provincial statute charges laid. And for the month of May, we issued 4 roadside screening tests, 14 administrative driver's license suspensions, 3 3-day suspensions, 20 ride checks were conducted, and 6 seatbelt checks conducted. Regarding focus patrols.
Sorry, do they not do a ride and a seatbelt coincidentally?
Well, not always, because, yes, they do check for both, but a ride is specifically usually for a ride. Most people are able to get their seatbelt on before they pull up, whereas the seatbelt checks are often done when you see somebody standing at the street corner.
Okay. And how many of the ride programs are mandated from Aurelia?
There is no number
No?
that's mandated.
Okay. Just get that out there, so I get that question all the time.
Yeah, no, there's no number of either.
Thank you.
Focus patrols, so under the crime, we have a Simcoe Foot Patrol, which is running from May until August, and it is in regards to Friday and Saturday nights. I have one patrol officer and one auxiliary officer paired together that are dedicated to walking foot patrol downtown Simcoe, the mall area, to interact with the businesses and the migrant workers that frequent there. As of June 11th, we've had 18 and a half hours to this patrol. They've handed out robbery prevention kits to various businesses, and they've received very positive response from the people they've interacted with.
Yeah, and I personally, and for the board, I want to thank you for your response to that overture. It came to my attention very early on that the offshore workers were coming in towns, carrying their paychecks, doing whatever, spending wherever they spend, and the threat level was higher at that point than ever before.
So we'll continue that through till Labor Day.
Thank you.
Under the traffic, we have a open focus patrol on Lyndale Road in Simcoe that runs, well, it just closed. It ran from June 5th to the 21st of June. I won't have the results until the next meeting. We had a focus patrol on Mechanic Street in Waterford as a result of a citizen complaint. It ran from June 5th till the 21st of June. I'll have the results next meeting. We have a closed traffic focus patrol, speeding Angling Road, that ran for a month, and 5 charges were laid as a result of that. And James Street in Delhi, we ran a focus patrol April through May, and in response to speeding complaints, and 13 and a quarter hours were dedicated, 4 charges laid. However, I'm sure that you've seen the media that Ed Sanchuk continues to be at the school zone on a daily basis, reminding drivers that it's a 40-kilometer-an-hour zone.
Yeah, and again, unless I missed it, did we talk about distracted driving?
I probably missed it. So there was one distracted driving charge laid in April. Yes, one.
Councillor Columbus?
This scenario, Inspector, someone's in a vehicle accident and say they rolled their car over or something. And you ask them what caused it, did you fall asleep? Do you actually get their cell phone records to find out if they were on their cell phone? Do you ever do that?
We do if there's an indication that they were on their cell phone at the time of the collision. It has to be done under warrant, so we have to have reasonable probable grounds to formulate the information to get the warrant to search the phone. But we have done it in the past.
You have done it? Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Speed spy studies. We conducted one Lyndale Road in Simcoe. It did identify a problem, and we did the focus patrol. Mechanic Street in Waterford, it did identify a problem. We've done a focus patrol. We did a speed spy study on Front Road. There was no problem identified. And we did one on Argyle Ave in Delhi. No problem was identified. Argyle, it appears to be a volume issue there. And we deployed the speed watch sign on Thompson Road in Villanova during May.
And I just saw on social media from the high school area in Delhi on Highway 3 that enforcement was taking place there.
That's Ed Sanchucky's
Yep.
out there on a daily basis to remind drivers. And one other thing to note, I just, June 11th, and the county got, James Johnson got the same letter from the Solicitor General advising that Norfolk County has been granted an allocation of $15,841 under the RIDE grant program for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, which is a grant intended to enhance our regular RIDE program, which are currently conducted by the Norfolk OPP.
And that goes into whose budget?
It's Norfolk County.
The PSB budget or the county budget? Do we know?
The money goes to the county, and
Okay.
the county comes back
Okay, I better,
and spends it
I'll
on
send
the
them an
RIDE.
IOU.
On the RIDE grants. And the 15,841 is, I believe, the identical amount that we received for
Previous
2018,
years.
2019.
Yeah.
So that's a good news. That's a good news story. And that will be enhanced mostly at Christmas time and New Year's. And that's my report, unless there's any questions.
Anything from the board members? To the inspector. David?
Through you, Mr. Chair, a couple of positive things from the board. First of all, we get a deputation, and the office said, where are the OPP? I don't believe I got this from Owen, just how involved our OPP are in the community in extracurricular activities. And Monty, I'll give you a copy of this because it's very extensive, and as Joe says, as our inspector says, I don't believe everything is even on there. So this is very, very positive to counteract sometimes, where are you guys, you know? On the second positive note, I want to talk about county department heads. How I read about the changes in Friday the 13th. I think it's very positive. I think it's a great first step. I'm happy to see the mayor and the council acting on behalf of the public, and I think there are going to be some good changes forward even from this, and they're going to move forward to other changes. So I see nothing but positive on what you guys are doing for Friday the 13th, along with the OPP. So for that also, I thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great. Back to the list of activities by the OPP and their interaction with the community. Again, for those who weren't here at the beginning of the meeting, that came out of the meeting with the chairs of the community policing committees. And the intent here is to show dramatically, I guess, use that term, the shift in community interaction from the one-on-one or person-to-person contact to the social media contact. And when we have a next meeting with the chairs, then we will overlay this kind of activity with what they're doing. And what we heard historically and the mayor certainly was in attendance at that meeting. What we're hearing is bike rodeos, lock it and lose it, the historic programs. And not to say they don't have value, just things are shifting. And the interaction is becoming more social media oriented than ever before. And so we have to look at the future of the community policing organizations and how we can work smarter going forward. Carol?
Add to your list the bike rodeo, the lock it and lose it, and the Community Water Safety Day.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was saying to you today on my memories on Facebook, so on social media, there's a picture of you, myself, and the Norfolk County OPP Marine Unit from the Water Safety Day in 2014, I guess.
Yep. I was much younger then, sir.
Also, Mr. Chair, it's been brought up, and this will be to Carol, trouble getting volunteers, but that's not uncommon. Everybody has trouble getting not only volunteers, but employees. Have we ever thought of some of the senior students that want to get their community hours in, recruiting some high school students, some college, Fanshawe College? Is that maybe a possibility of looking into recruits or that maybe want to get into policing in the future, have thought about it, of going to these two places for the community policing committees and see if there's anybody interested in joining their committees?
Yeah, we had a healthy discussion about volunteers and how to recruit volunteers and partnerships with service clubs and other entities. And not to throw roadblocks out there, but it came to the issue that there were monthly meetings to attend, that whole bureaucratic overlay that goes with it, and then the background checks that have to be done for working with vulnerable people and children, and the cost of that. And not that it can't be overcome, it's just that things are changing. And so we have to, I think, settle down and look at, what is a possible structure going forward? How can we interact with the community more and more, and not just on bike rodeos and those kinds of things, although they are important. And on that particular note, we talked about partnerships, and right away insurance came up. If you go to a service club and say, how'd you like to help us with the bike rodeo? Say, well, the county's going to have to insure us, type of thing. And so those challenges are there. We know them. It's just times are changing. And I'll repeat myself again. How do we interact with the community in the most effective and efficient way? And that's what we'll be talking about at the next meeting, probably in September. Get some time to analyze what we're doing. Okay? Anything further from the board members? Yes.
What I was going to say too is that often, as the chair of the community policing, the majority of the job is really in recruitment of volunteers. And so, Dave, thank you in suggesting using students. You're recruiting students, and that's always part of the plan for anybody, for any volunteer group. But as the chair has said, times are changing. It is difficult to recruit volunteers, but it's just something that they have to keep on doing. It's worth being involved in your community. Civic duty goes beyond voting, so I think that's what people need to remember.
Yeah, and one of the points that was raised, and certainly Her Worship will verify, and that was the celebration of volunteerism, and how many people are invited, who's invited, and those kinds of things. Do you want to speak to that, Your Worship?
Just other than now that we have a new assistant again for council, I just talked to her about it the other day, so I think we'll look at organizing some sort of event. And there was a great idea there to kind of have the volunteer appreciation. I think Dave, was it yourself or somebody else that was there that evening? And then afterwards, maybe kind of have some of the groups that need volunteers have kind of some little booth set up and so on, so we could do kind of a two-part event to it.
I think it was Ms. Huff that raised the point about celebrating volunteerism.
Well, I think the last time there was a volunteer appreciation was in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I was there, as you were. So I think it's an important thing to do.
Yeah, it's been subsumed by Dogwood Awards and all those other things, but certainly, specifically celebrating volunteerism. Without volunteers, we're dead in the water. Really, we are across county in every aspect. So, yes.
I was just going to say, I think we could make it a great event with some of the local, breweries and wineries and stuff, and just have it kind of, just an opportunity to sort of showcase Norfolk and have it be a good time for everyone, and then at the same time afterwards, use it as a platform to maybe try to recruit some additional people.
If there is a downside to it, Your Worship, I'll tell you that when the certificates arrive on your desk for you to sign, it'll be that deep. And I always took personal pride in signing individually each one. I never had a stamp for my signature, so I thought they put their time in to volunteer, I'll put my time into signing the certificate. Just give you a heads up as to what might unfold. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, you do get rewarded as a volunteer. I had a daughter that volunteered for 3 years with the county, and then when she went on to high school, she became an employee of the county while she was all going through school. So there are rewards at the end.
Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, item B under reports and discussion items, we have information here from Nikki Sloat, who's under the Community Services, and this was a request of mine, again, leading into a discussion we will have subsequently on false alarms. And to say, when we reconvene in the fall, after a short recess, I will have a presentation to make to you, and it'll outline, I think, pretty specifically where the potential for some savings on the police budget side can be had, and those monies hopefully then go back into the county coffers and can be used, perhaps, their decision, but perhaps to bolster the bylaw side of the house. So we'll see where that goes. But this is for your information. One of the things that did come up again at the chair's meeting was the delay in funding the community groups. And in one case, they didn't get their monies until late in the year. And here they had programs lined up that they wanted to launch and initiate. So that was certainly taken on board by both Councillor Columbus and her worship, who were in attendance at that. And again, that's a budget that historically used to fall under the PSB, and I don't know if it still does or not. It doesn't seem to be that way because we've not discussed it so far. Also, part of Nikki's correspondence to us highlights a bit of the outline of how this bylaw works and how many dollars have been paid into the program. And I was somewhat shaken to read in 2018 there were properties with 10 or more occurrences of false alarms. Holy mackerel. I would have just cut them right off, personally. So that's for your information. And then item C, scheduling OPP municipal policing representative to attend a meeting. This has been discussed in the past. Certainly, David, you've raised it on a number of occasions, most recently in having somebody come down from community policing of the OPP and give us a presentation. So, given that this is a contract negotiation year, I think the timing's good. I would ask for the board's input as to timing. My personal opinion would be September period of time, but certainly I'm willing to hear your comments on this.
Mr. Chair, I know we don't meet in the summer, and that's fine. Depending on scheduling, these gentlemen and ladies are probably, whoever the presentation presents it, they're probably very busy too. So if it happened to be a special meeting, if we couldn't, in September they were busy or whatever, I'm not afraid to do something between now and September because I think it's very important that we hear this contract. But we can wait till September. I mean, I would kind of leave it up to the inspector. He'll probably inform us when these.
Yeah, I'm 99.9% sure that municipal policing will send a representative down whenever you require one. They're very flexible and they will send somebody, so
Yeah,
just give me a month.
Councilor Columbus?
I hear something about is that why we're having them come down, is to discuss the contract? Is that?
I think it's more to give us some insight as to what's happening, some context. What we know is that the Ontario Provincial Police were given a budget cut of 43 million, I think, 46 million, something like that. We're not sure where those dollars went or what happened, whether it was administrative dollars that were cut or frontline dollars that were cut or anything else. But more to the point that there's legislative change coming. So what is the thinking, perhaps, of the Ontario Provincial Police and its services to the communities that contract to it? And that kind of context, I think we're looking at. In terms of contract renegotiation, when you read the contract, and I hope you all have, not a lot of negotiation is going to take place on salaries. And we don't have any say for pay. I've been saying that for years. That's the end of that story. I do have some ideas relative to how to reduce the calls for service side of the equation, but that's not a contract issue either. It's based on a percentage across Ontario of all the municipalities that use the OPP and how many properties we have. So those aren't negotiable issues. So really, if we're going to focus on any negotiations whatsoever, it's really going to be around what bylaws we might want to have the OPP enforce for us, or enforce for the county, sorry. I don't want to put myself in the position where I'm working for the county, but
Again, Mr. Chair, because of the salaries, I think it's getting close to 87%. It's not much different than the boards of education when they present us with, there's not a lot of room, but there's always, let's tweak some things and maybe save. It's a $12 million budget. If you can save 1% or something, I mean, it's all good.
the good news is 5 years ago, the contract cost was approaching $13 million. This year, 2019, the contract costs are approaching $13 million. So for 5 years, a benefit of the activity that took place relative to the billing format has saved Norfolk County hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands. And can we do that again? I don't think so, unless we move all the bylaw enforcement, and we know the statistics. Those were provided to us and to the county representatives. All those 1,800 or whatever it was, move them over to bylaw, but then how can the county absorb that until they restructure, reorganize, and revamp their bylaw department? And then another small piece will be the false alarms. If we can knock off 90% of the calls for false burglar alarms, then there's cost savings there. But we'll see as we go forward. But those two things are not contract negotiations. Yes, sir.
So just for clarity, when I contact municipal policing, we're looking at September?
That was my suggestion, because we're going to...
Okay, and will it be just for police service board, or do they want whole council to hear the presentation?
Well, I would certainly leave that to mayor and council to make a decision whether they want us to sit in on that, or...
I'm just, if we're looking at a date in September, is it going to be on a police service board date, or a council date, or a special date? I don't need a decision today, but shortly, because then I'll get municipal policing locked in for a September date.
Chair, again, council initially, mayor and council initially signs the bill. They initially pay the bill. I think with so many junior councilors, I think it would be proper to have before our board and council, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that was my intent of going forward with the presentation, to let folks around that council table who didn't know what a PSB was and what a PSB did, so...
And that's fine, as I said, just somebody shoot me a date through email.
We'll get back to you, sir.
And I'll get
But my intent was certainly to have a presentation to the PSB. I thank you for raising it, and we'll take it up with her worship and council. That takes us to item number 10 on the agenda, question period. Does a representative from the Simcoe Reformer have any questions? Thank you, sir. Anything from around the table before we move to the more in-depth issues on operational issues in camera? Anything you want to bring forward? No? Then, pursuant to Section 35 A and B of the Police Services Act of 1990. Page 15, as amended, we go into camera where matters involving public security may be discussed, and having regard to the circumstances, the desirability of avoiding their disclosure to the public interest, which outweighs the desirability of them to know, and also to talk about intimate financial or personal matters, or other members may be disclosed of such a nature, having regard to the circumstances, and that the desirability of avoiding their disclosure in the interest of any person affected or in the public interest outweighs the desirability of adhering to the principles of the proceedings be open to the public. Mover, seconder, Councillor Columbus, member Dave Murphy, all in favor? Thank you. We're going in camera.